Hi. I got a comment on the website ovarit, Ovarit. It's like our new version of Reddit. Anyway, I got a comment from somebody called Catherine Earnshaw 65 asking if I would talk about why separatism is good for women. I have a few videos on separatism, so I will be sure to link to the playlist of those. But yeah, this is going to be more about why it's good for women. Also, I am outside on my deck, so if you hear outside sounds, that's why. So yeah, separatism is good for women and girls because it removes women and girls from the misogyny, the violence, and the culture of patriarchy. Women and girls who are outside of the misogyny, culture, conditioning, socialization of patriarchy have the opportunity to fully explore and learn who they really are or want to be without the influence of patriarchal conditioning, in a space, in a community, in a world of female separatism. The standards of female behavior expected in a patriarchy don't apply. The whole expectation of gentleness, softness, kindness, placating, willingness, receptiveness, agreeability. The standards for presentation of your physical being, your weight, what you wear, what you put on your face, how you wear your hair. Those are all patriarchal standards that we adhere to. Trying to have a certain shaped body, long hair, makeup, heels, dressing femininely, etc. Without men, so within female separatist spaces, those expectations don't exist. I personally have never been able to visit a women's only land. There are women only lands all over the world, so I do suggest, if it's something you're interested in, looking it up on the internet, because there are women lands in the USA, all over the USA, in Canada, where I am. Anyway, I have never had that experience, but I have talked to many older lesbians, 50 and above, who have been to women's lands, and particularly they speak of Mishfest, but there are, of course, other women's festivals. But anyway, they've been to these spaces where they say that you can see the change just like overcome women when they get there. That they've never felt so safe and comfortable to just take their shirts and bras off and walk around topless, because there's no men around and there's no expectation that your body must look a certain way in order to be exposed. There's thin women and muscular women and fat women and women with tiny breasts and women with huge breasts and women with rolls and stretch marks and pock marks and whatever. Like, they get to these lands and these events and these spaces, and they don't feel that pressure anymore. I think separatism is good for women and girls for so many reasons, what I've said already, but like the space to be exactly as and who you are, with no consideration for what's considered appropriate for a woman to do, has got to be so freeing. And that's just the piece about how we act or look or present ourselves. Separatist spaces provide literal safety, freedom from male violence, freedom from molestation by men, and rape. I saw a thing just the other day, I think I posted it on my Instagram actually, that a study found in that 2012 in the USA, more boys between the ages of 10 and 12 years old were arrested for forcible rape than women of any age group. 10 to 12-year-old boys, more 10 to 12-year-old boys, that's grades 4 through 6, were arrested for forcible rape. Little boys. Okay? So, imagine a space or a community or a world where little girls grow up without that threat. Little girls are not safe from adult men, and they're not safe from their peers. It's horrifying, and I think little girls deserve a space away from that, to grow up to be exactly who they should be, never knowing or understanding or internalizing patriarchy. Separatism is also good for women financially and economically. When you're not giving your money to male-owned corporations, when you're able to use your money, whether it be communally or just in patronizing female-owned businesses, like use your money on women, with women, for women. I know in 2020, in this day and age, the idea of like a women's land, like the whole cottagecore fantasy where you live entirely off the land, self-sustainable, like that's not realistic in this day and age. We all know that. When you think about Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, like in 2020 you can add Wi-Fi to that. It is a necessity in this day and age. So the whole cottagecore fantasy is not realistic. We understand that, but like separatism is also more than just moving to a location where it is women only, right? It involves just focusing your time and energy on women only. Female friends, female partnerships, whether that be romantic or platonic. Like I said, patronizing female-owned businesses, donating to female-owned or exclusive charities or organizations that work to improve the lives of women. There are ways to be a separatist that don't involve like leaving society. But it does involve a big commitment on putting women first in your life, including women you don't like, frankly. Not siding with men or choosing men or whatever. This includes putting women and their well-being and your relationships with them over your brothers and your fathers and your uncles and your friends from college and whatever. We all know decent dudes, right? Like, I consider myself a radical feminist, and I'm obviously a lesbian, and I live a female separatist life in the best ways that I can, living in a 21st century world, right? Like, but we all have men in our lives regardless who we think are decent or good, or we enjoy their company or their friendship or what they represent for us in our lives. We all have that, and to say that, you know, like it's not possible to live a 100% female only lifestyle. Anyway, but that doesn't mean that those men in our lives who we like or care for are above critique from a feminist perspective and above consequence. So part of a female separatist life in the ways in which it's possible in the 21st century is acknowledging that. And when there are men in your life who behave, act, or speak in patriarchal or misogynist ways, being a female separatist and living authentically to that belief is addressing it, is calling it out, is expecting a correction of that behavior. And if it doesn't happen, there needs to be a consequence that they're not going to be in your life anymore. Like, men have gotten away with the last 10,000 years because they've been allowed to. They've been allowed to. Nobody has punished or offered a consequence. And we're not going to change patriarchy by choosing not to have a male friend in our life anymore, right? But Terry Strange said once, this is a paraphrase, I don't know the exact quote. She said, radical feminism is for saving yourself. You're not going to save other women. And I agree with her. Radical feminism is about saving yourself, learning your own worth, and applying that to your life. So, yeah, I hope that makes some sense. This is already too long and rambly. That's the point of my channel, is rambling. But I guess if you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and maybe I can make a video on that. But yeah, female separatism is good because women and girls deserve a life, an experience growing up or existing or spending time in spaces, communities, events, worlds where patriarchy doesn't impact how they exist, how they speak, how they express themselves, and how they even monitor themselves. In a nutshell, separatism is good for all of those reasons.